Welcome to another episode of the Me in the Making podcast. I am your host, Melly Clay, and this is a podcast about introspection. It's about self exploration, discovery, it's about growth, it's about diving deep into who you are, who you used to be, who you're becoming. How do you relate to the world? How do you make sense of the world? And I just talk about things that I've been thinking about along those lines. I also have guests on the show, and I talk to them about who they are, who they have become, who they are becoming, who they would like to be in the future. And this is season 3, and I have video and audio of season 3. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then you can come on over to YouTube. There's a link in the show notes if you would like to see me on video. And seasons 1 and 2, if you have not already listened to those, they're audio only. And I am interviewing guests. I have friends and family on, and I'm talking to them about their own self-discovery and introspection. And I talk to them about how they're progressing with their lives and how they're coping and the things that they're excited for in the future. And we have a really good time. And in season 3, I am doing some solo episodes like this episode where I talk to you all about some things that I've been processing or things that I've been experiencing. And if you relate at all, or if you have any questions or thoughts, want to give feedback, please leave a comment. You can also email me. I say my email at the end of the show. So, yeah, thank you for coming. If you are new here, welcome. I love that you have found your way to me in the making, and I hope you have a good time. And definitely jump in, ask me any questions, talk to me about anything, any suggestions that you want to hear me talk about on the show. And I would love to just get that feedback from you all and those suggestions. And today I have a special segment, and it is Book Corner. So I have been reading a lot lately. Well, a lot. I guess a lot is relative, right? I've been reading a good amount of books compared to how much I used to read, maybe like before the pandemic. I wasn't making reading a priority, but since the pandemic and, taking basically being forced to sit down and I had a lot of alone time, it's like, okay, what am I going to do with it? Well, let me read, let me explore, let me go into these different worlds and get back into my reading bag. So, today I want to talk about 3 different books that I have recently read that I enjoyed pretty much, I would say, to level it to different degrees of enjoyment. But I want to talk about some of the things that I have read and experienced. So, these are the 2 physical books that I have right now, and I'll have my editor put the third book up on the screen because it was actually a library book. So I don't have the physical copy with me because I had to return it after I finished. But yeah, so the 3 books I'm talking about today are Logo Woman Missing, Our Crooked Hearts, and the other book I'm talking about is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. So, the first book I want to talk about is Local Woman Missing. It's by Mary Kubica. I'm actually not sure how she says her last name. I should have looked this up before I came on here, but I think that's how she pronounces it. And this book I actually am reading from my sister. She got this book, it was gifted to her, and I was like, wait a minute, where did this book come from? Wait, I was like, are you giving it to me? It happened to be on something in the apartment that we share that was mine. And she was like, no, I think I just set it on there. Like, that's still my book. But I was like, oh, well, can I read it? And so she was like, of course. So I had been hearing a lot of good things about Local Woman Missing. And the book, I mean, essentially did not disappoint for me. It was a really fun thriller. Well, maybe I shouldn't say fun. I shouldn't say it was fun, but the writing and the adventure and everything was I'll just say it was fun to read. And it was the book, there are different characters and they each kind of have their own perspective. So you go through the book and it's from various people's perspective. So basically the synopsis is that someone is missing. There's a local woman missing, and they're trying to figure out where she is. Is she dead? Is she still alive? Where is she? What could have happened to her? What were the surrounding things around the disappearance? And the book is has neighbors on there, the people who are married to the woman, and basically they're trying to figure out like what is going on. And there's also a parallel story that's happening where someone else had gone missing, and in from the same neighborhood, from the same town. And it's a town, it's kind of a sleepy town. These things don't typically happen, so the people who are living in the town are pretty shook and trying to figure out what is going on. Are these things connected? What's happening? And it's really really good. It is how many pages is it? The reading went by very quickly. It's 328 pages in this edition, and I I was amazed at how quickly I was reading the book. Um, I think the first day when I picked it up, I think I read like 90 pages, and that's not typical for me. Ever since 75 Hard, I've been trying to read at least 10 pages a day. And when I picked this book up, I read like 90 pages on that first day, I was like, whoa, I guess I'm really enjoying this book. And it was going by very quickly. Like let's say you have a reading goal and maybe you're a little bit behind on books by the end of the year. I would say definitely read this book because it's going to go by quickly. It's a page turner. You're going to want to see what the next thing is about to happen. Um, and yeah, I definitely recommend. So pick that up or listen to it on audio. I'm sure it's on audio. And or go to your local library, maybe see if they have it, a copy, or you could put a hold on it so that you don't have to buy if that's not what you're looking to do. So, Our Cricket Hearts. This book is by Melissa Albert, and I I did not enjoy this book as much as I enjoyed Local Woman Missing. Um, but I still enjoyed it insofar as I liked the writing and I enjoyed the concepts that the author was presenting, and just it's basically a story about family, and it is also kind of witchy. So I think this episode will drop around Halloween. So if you're looking for a book that's kind of spooky, I would say choose this book, like read this book, Our Cricket Hearts. Um, and the book is about basically a mom and her husband, her very best friend, who's also kind of like a sister, and the mom's children. So the children are trying to figure out, they're like high school age, like junior, senior in high school. I think actually the son might be in college. And they're trying to figure out like why is mom being so weird? What's going on? Like she's always been kind of weird, but now she's being even more weird and we don't really know what's happening. And the mom is not being very forthcoming with her children. And so there's just a lot of confusion. And basically it's witchy because you kind of find out like, oh, is my mom a practicing witch? Like some things will happen around her where it's like this wouldn't naturally happen, or animals start dying around her and it's like what's going on here? Like there was no, you couldn't really tell why the animal had died, and just other things that were going around that the daughter was picking up on, that it was raising alarm bells for her. So this book also has different perspectives based on the character. So there's a section in there where the mom is speaking, and it also goes back in the past of when the mom was younger in her teenage years with her best friend slash sister. And then you kind of fast forward and you are getting the perspective of her daughter trying to figure out this mystery of what is going on. And you also kind of get their perceptions of the mother, or I'm sorry, the daughter's father, who is the mom's husband, and trying to gauge like, does he know what's going on, or is he in the dark just as much as I am? And Melissa Albert does a good job of like weaving this tale of stuff that's happening in the past, stuff that's happening in the present, and the daughter being able to figure out how to connect the dots throughout this story because she's pretty much all on her own. Her brother isn't really trying to dig in. He's like, listen, that's mom. She's done this, she's been this way her whole life or my whole life. So I'm not trying to poke the bear or anything. Like, I'm just going to stay out of it. She's not really getting a lot of answers from her dad because her dad is like, well, this is something that, your mother needs to tell you. So the daughter's like, well, what's going on? So she takes things into her own hands and she's figuring out what it is that's happening. And it's spooky. The writing is really good. Like, I felt that the writing was pretty descriptive. There were some things that maybe I would have changed, but ultimately I think it did a really good job of like getting you into this world and imagining what it is that's going on. The writing is very descriptive in setting you in a place and time and trying to figure out like what is really going on here. And actually, both of these books were written or were set in Chicago in the Chicagoland area. So, I don't know if that were a coincidence. This other book, Our Crooked Hearts, my sister had gotten gifted as well. So I wonder if the person giving them to her got these because they were set in Chicago and this is where we live. But yeah, it was really good. So I definitely recommend it. I didn't like it as much as Local Woman Missing, but I do think that there are a lot of good gems from it. And the third book that I want to talk about is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And this book was very different than what I was expecting it to be. And now that I say that, I'm not really sure exactly what I was expecting because typically I don't like to read the synopsis of books before I get into them because I usually like to be surprised. So I did not read the synopsis. I just knew that it was a very popular book and it was available at the library. So I was like, oh, let me just snatch this up before someone else checks it out. So it was actually about video games. And I am not a video game player. I just don't have the hand-eye coordination for it all. And like I actually like watching people play video games. Well, not like just sitting there for hours and hours watching, but if I go over to a friend's house or, I might go to an arcade or something and watch people play because they tend to be skillful and I'm just like, wow, I marvel at how they're able to move the joystick and everything and just get done what they need to get done. But anyway, this book is about well, it's a story about friendship, but the book the some of the major plot points with these friends are that they create video games. They make video games. And the author is going into like the building of these video games. Like the author is going into great detail of how the video games are being created and coded, and the author is going into like the motivations that the characters might have, and basically like building these worlds and everything. And the writing was good and I was excited to learn more about the friendship. There was just a lot of writing about the video game side of things and a lot of times I just wanted the author to get back to the friendship building between the characters and like propelling that along, but I guess the author's like, listen, I'm propelling their friendship along based on these video games because the video games are kind of like an allegory of their friendship and how these two friends were connecting. And so I kept wanting to read the book. If I weren't concerned, if I wasn't interested in the friendship of the two main characters, then I don't think I would have finished the book because I was really turned off by all the video game speak. And maybe that's my fault because I did not read what the book was going to be about. But even if I didn't, I saw all video games, I might not have thought that they were talking about video games as much as they were talking about video games. So just know that about this book. If you are interested in reading it, just know that it's video game heavy and they get kind of technical and everything. So I did learn a lot about video games, but I just don't know how much I was actually interested in reading about the video games. So, and I will also say there was a little bit of repetitiveness when it came to the different cycles of their friendship because it seemed like they would kind of move forward. They would progress, the two main characters would progress, but then also assume a lot of things on their end and not talk to each other about things. And so then they would kind of end up back to where they started because they're not actually asking each other questions and trying to figure out like getting deeper into who they are because they think they know who the other person is. So that was a little bit annoying, but overall, I would say the writing was really good. And by the end of it, you were able to see, okay, this is how they progress through their friendship, and it's pretty realistic, I would say. Even though some of the writing was repetitive, like we might have been able to get to some conclusions a little bit faster, but and I think the book was like almost 400 pages. I remember it being a dense book. But please fact check me on that. But it was a dense book for real. And a lot of the writing was about video games. So just so you know, I would say out of these three books, the rankings of interest for me were Local Woman Missing was number one, Our Crooked Hearts was number two, and then Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow was number three. Even though I did enjoy all the books altogether, I would recommend them to anyone, but that's just kind of the ranking that I had with this. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Book Corner. And this is something that I want to release monthly, but we'll see how quickly I go through books. Because I want to review maybe two or three books at a time. So depending on how quickly I go through books, that will determine how often this segment will be on the show. So maybe it'll be every month or maybe it'll be every 6 weeks or something like that. But yeah, let me know if there are any books that you would like me to read or you think I would be interested in based on how I describe these three books. Please let me know. And I will also be giving you a podcast recommendation in the segment called Pod Corner. You see, we have a lot of corners here. We've got Pod Corner, we've got Book Corner. I'm sure I'll think of something else to talk to you all about, another corner. So we'll just be bopping around through these corners. But the podcast that I want to recommend to you all is called Best Friends with Nicole Byer and Sashir Zameda. And I recommended another podcast previously. It's called Why Won't You Date Me? And that's with Nicole Byer. So this podcast, Best Friends, is with two best friends. So Nicole and Sashir are best friends, and you probably know Sashir Zameda from SNL. She was on SNL years ago, and she's recently been on Agatha All Along and Home Economics. I really enjoyed Home Economics. I actually have not watched Agatha All Along just yet. It's something that I need to get to. But anyway, this podcast, Best Friends, is really fun. They just talk about anything and everything that they get into, their shenanigans. They live in the same city, and so they just talk about different things that they have gotten into. Sometimes they'll have guests on the show, and they talk to each other about who their best friend is. Like they might have someone famous on the show who you might recognize who their best friend is. And then, you just get to learn more about these people's personal lives and things that they're interested in. They get into all their different quirks. And so it's just a really fun time. They also answer questions from people who write in questions, like friendship questions that they might have, ways to deal with, oh, I have this issue with my friend or acquaintance, or like, how do I make more friends as an adult? It gets more and more difficult to make friends. So yeah, that is Best Friends with Nicole Byer and Sashir Zameda. And I just have such a good time listening to it. They make me laugh all the time. And they also have questions that just naturally come up on the show, and instead of just not actually looking into, okay, what's the answer to this, they'll have their producer kind of like Google some stuff and they talk about it on the show. So they raise questions and they also answer questions in the same episode. So yeah, I have a good time with it. So I hope that you all do as well. If you choose to subscribe, yeah, check out Best Friends. And this is another episode of the Me in the Making podcast. I hope that you enjoyed. This has been another episode of the Me in the Making podcast. Please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Tell a friend, tell a family member. We all deserve to grow and change and become our best selves, whatever that might look like to you. And please connect on Instagram at Making Me Pod, on TikTok. You can email me at meli@makingmepod.com. I would love to hear from you. Let me know if you want to be a guest on the show. And yeah, I'm just having such a great time. I'm so happy to have been able to launch this video episode for you all, and come again. Bye.